Hey, it looks like maintainer lottery is working, Stephen. So we can tag up all the rest of them.
Awesome.
And I know this because you got assigned one of them. Marty, are we gonna talk about the Stackify PR today, or is it too early?
I was hoping to talk about it a little bit.
Okay, don't forget to put it on the agenda.
Cool.
And Joe, did you want me to put Buildpacks there too?
Yeah, if you have it open, I was going to.
Who put Tecton ownership in? Anybody know who did that?
One more minute for people to show up.
Travis, you're looking like a man with kids today.
Yes, indeed. I'm feeling like a man with 4 kids today.
All right, let's kick things off. So first thing on the agenda, start recording. Did we start recording? I think we are recording. Remember to sign in if you haven't signed in. I don't see any new faces. Marty, you've been to these before, right?
I have not.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Marty. I'm on the core dependencies team in the container build program at VMware.
It's the team that works on building runtimes and base images. And release planning and updates. I don't see Javier or Emily here. They usually give the updates. Anybody have release planning updates for their associated teams?
I will speak as another implementation maintainer, albeit not in this bit of it. Emily is pursuing work towards the 0.5 Buildpack API and the life cycle nearly exclusively. So there is a push to that. I don't think there's a date, but it is now in the plan for something coming.
Awesome. And does anybody speak for the platform side?
Yeah, I think that a version of Pack was cut today. A release went out. The only thing left between being completely done is getting out 2 more Ubuntu distro PPAs.
Cool. Those are PPAs for Pack CLI. Awesome.
We have a new sub team that is the distribution team, and we had a release today, version 3.1.0, to update the default to 0.15 a pack. Thanks to Ben. We're on 3.0, so these other teams I think need to catch up because we're moving at a very quick clip.
All right, awesome. Any other release planning updates? Cool. Next thing is RFC review. I think I shared my screen. Can everybody see RFCs? And I'll just go from the top. Stack of 5. We're going to talk about today. It's on the agenda.
We should put a team label. Yeah, okay. We'll do a team label when we get there, since we don't actually know what's in this.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's on the schedule, I don't think it's huge for us to do it at the moment.
Image manifest size to report TOML.
This one we should tag.
This was about, okay, we know what this one is. And Danny is not here today, so probably we'll see. What this is report TOML, so this is platform spec. Is that right?
I think that's right.
And then what I'm supposed to tag, there's another thing I tag in here too, right? The sub team that's different than that. So
yeah, and that feels like implementation sub team. Am I right?
Oh, well, is it? Yeah, okay, I think that's right. Platform spec implementation sub team. Cool. And then any updates on this one? We don't have Danny here. It looks like it just needs approvals. Is that right? I see some approvals on it already. I'm going to go ahead and add the core team as reviewers. Cool. And add stack space image label.
Kenny's not here, but I think there's some outstanding questions that have to be answered there.
Cool. We're waiting for Kenny to respond back then. Should also add the core team on these, right? Core team should be on everything, I think.
Yeah, there's a problem with this that I'm trying to grapple with how to solve.
Cool. Sounds good. Extension spec for builder. Dave, I don't see him today either.
That should be closing today.
Oh, yeah, this is an FCP.
Yeah, I think this is closing.
Yeah,
I think, do I just need to create an issue and stuff?
I think this just needs to be merged.
Does
think
this get
Emily
assigned
has-
through the bot?
Yeah, that's what it got assigned to you through the bot as because it's owned by the core sub team.
Sure.
But I believe Emily has done everything that needs to happen now. You probably need to verify that she's actually opened the issues, but I'm pretty sure I saw her open the issues this morning.
Yeah,
And
the
the
labels
final-
are indicate that the issue is
Yeah.
created. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the final thing that you need to do, Terrence, in this repo is there is a merge RFC script that exists in the repo itself. So clone that out, run that script, and that'll do what needs to be done.
Gotcha.
Cool. Also an FCP pre-release versions and experimental features for API. I think this FCP is closing today.
Someone should own this.
I assume that's also me.
Is that going to be
Core.
core team? Yeah. So tag that up as core team, please.
Oh, this needs a label. Oh yeah, okay.
We've got to like crowdsource the process, the RFC process, because it's so complicated now.
That's quite a few labels. All right. Stack packs, mixins all on the agenda for today, but stack packs probably need to assign a
team to it.
Champion.
that's core.
Is that core team? I guess so. Is it release platform?
Could be. It could be implementation.
Could be implementation.
Yeah.
I think implementation. Okay, this one was core because, okay, never mind. Moving on.
Is that just core? It might be. I think so.
Yeah. I'm going to move on to Buildpacks should be able to provide the default process for an app. This is FCP. Is it closed yet?
I think it's SCP from last week.
Yep, closing today.
Okay, so we need to assign a lottery to it.
And this one is implementation, right?
Yep.
And this is also, does it have, yes, it has spec Buildpacks on it. Nice. Okay. And spec platform. Cool. RFC for process descriptor, that's a draft. Layer origin metadata. We heard back from Paul.
I
No,
don't believe so as of yesterday.
Emily said she was going to reach out to him maybe, but
Cool.
yeah, she's still working on it. She has reached out to him on a couple of occasions, so we're still working on it.
Sounds good. And offline build packages is on the agenda. And the last thing is a draft. Should we close this draft? Has been open for a very long time.
I
I
believe
would
Do
we
you think Xander's coming back for it?
no.
No.
Someone would have to own it in the first place, but I believe we decided that this would be subsumed by the stack packs. And so we left it open as a draft. At this point, I'm willing to say that the fact that we figured out a way to do it via build packs is sufficient for us to close this.
Yeah, something like that. Did I spell that right?
Yep.
Cool. All right. And that concludes our RFC review. So next thing on the agenda is asset packages.
yeah. So I think that the last time we had a discussion about this, there were a couple things that needed to be updated. Really, they were bringing some additional metadata that we have in Buildpack TOML over into this asset entry and basically push the ID inversion through all of the metadata all over the place. This kind of lets us use URIs to then take build packages and create offline asset caches from them rather than trying to build asset caches using other asset caches. So I think this is pretty good. The only other thing that has changed a little bit is how we're going to make these artifacts. So as things stand, because we're just using build packages to make any asset cache, all you need is either a buildpack TOML file or a package TOML file, which we already have conveniently defined. And we're going to add a little bit more flexibility to let you filter out assets that you don't want, either on a per build pack or an individual asset basis, using this additional file. And this will also let you give a canonical name to your asset package that gets placed in metadata, so you have some way to refer to it other than just the location that it sits in some registry.
I love the fact that you can build this from Buildpack TOML, because that actually goes to one of my biggest complaints around packaging build packs today, that even if you there's no implied package TOML when you do package build pack, which you could
There
do.
is now.
Yeah, Joe just added it in this last release.
In 0.15.
I believe so, yes.
Hallelujah.
Did it go out in 15? Hold on, I'll have to verify that.
If
You
not,
could
I want a
always use
0.15
main.
one right now. Thank you very much for that, Joe. And I'm glad to see that this follows the same idea, that it, like normal build packs already have all the information that you need. That's really good. So good. I will sign off on this immediately. Who wants to, what team was this supposed to go to, do we think?
This seems like platform, if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't looked too deeply into it. But I can at least champion it.
Cool.
Platform or it's kind of distribution related too.
Yeah.
Actually, it's
Are-
about the same thing.
Yeah, are those optional in that general format? Those aren't, are those in the actual TOML?
Yeah, so these are just filter options, right? So they should all be optional. This entire file actually is optional if you really want it to be. It's just a way.
Yeah,
that-
I just mean in the table key when you
Like
have
the
important
text
Oh,
itself. Yeah.
Oh, no,
that,
no,
that
no.
isn't actually in the key, right? Like
No,
that
no.
is okay.
No, there's just not really a good way that I could figure out to kind of add comments and not have the markup.
Doesn't
get
TOML
kind of
use
angry.
the
I thought it was pound
hash?
sign.
Yeah, hash, like the pound sign.
Hash outside the bracket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hash outside the bracket.
Yes, I could definitely.
I can
definitely
submit
do
a commit whatever quick fix thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because I feel like parsing those keys will be annoying if it has the optional thing in it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like hopefully this is the end of this, but never really know.
So just asking for more review right now.
Yeah.
And for approvals. Cool. And because this has been through so many iterations, I forget what this last set of changes was. There's no longer a separate asset package image at all. Is that right?
There can
There
be.
is.
Like there was a command, right? There's like package asset.
Yep. So asset packages still exist. They're completely separate from everything except for builders. It's the only place that these two things come together.
Got it.
So it's like a sidecar image for the build process, essentially.
Yeah.
When you construct builders, the asset packages get included in the builders.
And there's enough information on build packages and in the package TOML file to construct an asset package. So you can add this in at any point. That's just a implementation decision.
I think what I was thinking of is when you're constructing a meta build package, this asset package from other build packages, you can reconstruct a new asset package based on all the other meta build pack or build pack based on all the sub build packs metadata. You don't have to combine the sub build pack, construct sub asset packages, and then combine those asset packages together to construct the meta build packs associated asset package.
No
Many words.
wonder. I think it's like you take a build package and that just every build package is just directly usable to create this asset package. There's one side of the artifacts that has all of the information, which is the build packages. The asset packages are pretty dumb and they just are blobs of information about what's in them.
Got it.
And the build package metadata contains asset metadata tied to the things in that build package.
Yep.
Or contained in that build package, yeah.
Cool. Sounds good.
Okay, awesome.
Any other questions about asset packages, or should we move on to the next agenda item? In that case, Stackify.
So, already got some comments on this one. But basically the idea here is to create a Stackify repo. That'll, hold a tool to turn images into CMB compliant stack images. Down the line, hopefully turn that into a pack create stack command potentially. But for now, we wanted to leave this as a standalone repo for now. Yeah, I can, I guess, talk a little bit about it. So this would be the alternative for people who currently want to extend our stacks. Any stack that exists, they have to, create a Docker file and extend it and monitor for new stack images and rebuild their Docker images using Docker files. So this would be a way to do that without Docker files. And it would be able to add CA certificates, add packages, add all the CNB metadata that's required using Conico and GGCR to handle the image manipulation and the metadata.
So I look at, go ahead, Stephen, or whoever
Sorry.
was speaking.
It was Javier. So if I'm not mistaken, some of the features that this has, like the CA certs and more specifically the package management, those are very specific implementation to just Debian or Ubuntu. Is that right? Or is there intention to be more cross-platform?
I think the intention would be that it would be cross-platform, and so it would figure out, you'd be able to do it, add packages and CA certs for multiple types of images. So I imagine we'd start out with just Debian-based images, or honestly, we'd have to even go Bionic separately than Focal because those packages are going to be different. But the intention would be that we could do it across multiple types of images.
And the thing that separates this from stack packs is this isn't about adding packages during build time or in the build process. This is just about a tool that lets you, as a stopgap, maybe until you have that more complicated thing, add, set up a pipeline that without having to have a Docker file and complicated things, adds packages or CA certs, to images kind of directly on the registry.
Or even from scratch, right? Like if you had Alpine or something that isn't already a stack, this could make a base image, any base image into a stack. Am I mistaken there?
No, that's right. Could do that.
So it says maintain a Docker file and pipelines to continuously update images. How do you envision this to stop the need for a pipeline that watches for changes to the root stack image?
Yeah, it wouldn't solve that. It would solve the having to build it with a Docker file.
And what about doing a Docker file isn't good enough? Like I would have expected, just naively, I would have done from Paketo Buildpacks /build/base, and then I would have done apt-get install and then called it a day, right? Why is that? Why is this a better thing than just sort of adding one more layer that sits on top?
So first of all, not everyone knows that those base images exist. So most people would probably try to start a Docker file from Paketo Buildpacks build base-cmb, and then an apt-get install would fail because it wouldn't run as root.
Run as root. Okay.
So that, first of all, they would have to know that those base images exist and pull those instead of the CNB images. And then additionally, there's just a bunch of metadata they have to add to the image. They have to know to change the user. They have to know about all the metadata that's needed. We've definitely seen, in Slack, people asking questions about how to build it and asking for more information. So it's definitely proven to be not so trivial for people to do.
Okay, and so this tool would allow you to point at base CNB and get the same outcome?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
And then
Ideally.
that's why it's using Conoco rather than just calling the underlying apt command or whatever the package management command is on each of these.
So we actually have to think about that, because now that I'm thinking about it, I think the way we were thinking about implementing it, you'd still have to use the base image, but it would at least know, you wouldn't have to know what metadata you're expected to put in there.
What's the implementation choice to use Conoco rather than the native package management systems?
So we are using the native package management system to install the packages, but Conoco is being used to figure out the diff and create a layer from the diff of everything we've done to manipulate the image.
Just kind of backing up for a second to frame this maybe in a way that makes Conoco make sense. The idea here is that, like, right now, if you want to go from regular Dockerfile base image to CNBized stack image set with maybe with additional packages on it, right? If you want to go from Ubuntu Bionic coming from Canonical or UBI coming from Red Hat, turn those into CNB images and add packages and everything. You have to set up pipelines that need Docker, which needs privileges to run. This can run totally unprivileged in K8s, for instance, but it doesn't do monitoring or anything like that. It's just a sharp CLI tool, so that regardless of what platform you're using, it makes it that much easier to maintain CNB stack images. It's just like very incremental step towards having a more complete solution for cloud Buildpacks. But Conoco is kind of separate. It's more like Conoco instead of Docker. But in either case, you'd be using the native package manager to install packages, or you'd be using update CA certs to install CA certs.
Okay. And the end result of this is just a Go binary, effectively. Take some arguments.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, eventually we'd probably want to do something like a pack create stack with it, but for now we were thinking incrementally.
Yeah, I think if the goal is to address the like not external users, but sort of non-core users, the pack create stack is really important. And along with that, I think what would be helpful is seeing, I think like Emily described, seeing the interface, even if it's really coarse, like what are the inputs, what are the options, how do you do that? Like what can you customize and how do you customize it? Like, does this, like the first things that come to mind, like, does this create the CMB user ID, CMB group ID, the stack ID, things like that?
Yeah, I can definitely update this with that information. The plan would be yes to all of those, although I think kind of unresolved what we would do with the stack ID right now, because we could kind of only do this with the Bionic stack ID that we've defined already, or we could make this make the stack ID configurable. That's
so if it was just the Bionic one, that would mean we're limiting it to, like, I thought you would be able to use this with Ubuntu latest or an Alpine image. Is that not correct?
eventually, yes, but each version of, for Ubuntu, we'll have to have custom logic for Bionic and Focal and custom logic for Alpine. And so like we at some point when we do all those things, then yeah, it would make sense to customize the stack ID. And even from the start, it might make sense if someone just wants to customize their own stack ID and still use a Bionic based image. That would probably make sense.
Yeah,
but then
because
I think,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think Emily, you raised the question of what we do with mixins that are only defined for the Bionic stack. And so like right now, ideally, if you're using this with the Bionic stack ID, we could just generate that list of mixins for you. So maybe we leave that as an option only for stacks that have been defined by the Buildpack spec. And for others, like we just won't set mixins. Maybe that's a way to get around that issue.
Yeah,
All right,
that's
so
what I was going to propose. Yeah.
So if I gave this, for example, like the Heroku stack image, which already has a ton of packages installed, it would do the thing that I know Paketo does, where it just runs through the packages and creates the list of mixins that way. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
This could be a nice way to share some Conoco code too, right? Just like this probably do similar things as what StackPacks does when it uses Conoco to take snapshotting.
Conoco sort of means no Windows support by default, right? For this tool as well,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
For now. Hopefully that
Yeah, I
changes.
kind of imagine this as like in the way that Pack would support different architectures or something, or like it will support different operating systems, which might not include Windows, but like we can go as far or as not far as we would want and change that in the future too.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, if there's no other comments, I will take that feedback and update this RFC and respond to all the open questions that were there. Thanks.
Yeah, good stuff. I like this a lot.
Thanks.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing the UX proposal. Next thing on the list is, and last thing on the list is StackPacks.
Oh, hold on. Before we leave, who wants to own that issue? What team?
Platform could do it.
Is it platform? It's platform.
Yeah.
Stacks. Yeah. I'll go ahead and assign platform to it. Do we have a platform label?
I've seen it.
Already took care of it.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can't see it because you already did it. That makes sense. Cool. And there's no spec change there. So last thing on the list is StackPacks.
Yeah, so we left off last time talking about rebase, and I'm pulling this up. I'll try to talk while I'm pulling it up. There was an open question around how to handle nvars and the platform directory at rebase time, and how all the problems that would be introduced by either not having it or having it, and whatnot. So I think what is necessary is to decide on a plan for either segregating the things in the platform directory. Like I think we talked about having a separate like platform directory that's specific to extend and rebase. Or I had a proposal that I talked to Stephen about real briefly, where certain build packs might just completely opt out of environment variable, or like opt out of the platform directory during extend and rebase. But I think Stephen had some concerns about that. So let me pull it up. Yep, so this is the section. And I think the contention was around, I think it was this last sentence here. Oh yeah, and then I added a placeholder section.
Yeah, that's what I remember. We left off saying that we felt safer having an explicit StackPack environment directory, basically, or whatever, platform directory.
Yeah, I may have forgotten that. I think maybe we just maybe we had consensus on that, and it was just necessary to write it up. Does that sound right?
That's what I remember.
Yeah, the idea was if we could have separate environment variables for just for the stack, like dash, do we say dash dash stack dash env or something? then we can kind of cordon those off and say like, yes, we realize these could change, right?
Yeah, because I think the theory was because these would be set by the platform, then they're in complete control of this, and there's no sort of accidental invars coming from other platform that are meant for the other build packs, user space build packs.
And then it's safe during rebase because those are the only ones. So it's a special platform dirt for stack packs. Got it. Was that the only reproducibility concern we had? I remember. I think as long as it's a separate platform dirt, we're safe, right?
Yeah, because we didn't want to store them, and obviously, if you removed one, the behavior could change, right? Like or something like that, or you add a new one. But that's sort of up to the stack maintainers and the platform exposing those invars and treating them that way. But I think that was our main concern, was things meant for build packs changing between rebase and the original build.
Got it. Was there anything else that or should we just go through the examples?
Yeah, let's just keep walking through the examples. I think there may have been some stuff in the discussion above, but not prepared off the top of my head. So let's just work our way down. Some of this might change. I'm not sure if I've updated this based on some of the updates we made up above. So this is an example.
Put a pin in discussion up above from one of the working group meetings.
Yeah, definitely on
this one, right?
I think it was
Section.
this part right here.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
we
there's
just like
this...
moved on so we could get more of the doc done.
Yeah, right. I don't think it was that. I think we needed an example. I think we agreed that we want, like we talked about, like we went back and forth on like not having mix-ins at all, and then not having build plan at all, and whatever. But I think we decided we just wanted to add we did want to go this route, and it needed an example.
There's a question of.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Well, I think a big part of that question was you don't have to. All the mix-ins don't have to match. Only one of the mix-ins has to match for it to run. But then do all the normal build plan entries have to match if that's the case? And then there's this like, and then we said probably yes, but then there's weird interplay like, do stack packs always run then, or do they not always run? And then we thought maybe they have to always run, but then we were like, no, that doesn't make sense. That makes some things way too inefficient. So sometimes they have to not run. And then what does that mean on rebase? Maybe, or
yeah,
but I think
it's kind of what I remember. Yeah, was leaving as well.
Was there an unanswered question there, or did we decide? Does somebody have an idea of what we decided? Put a pin in it
to kind of go through these examples to kind of better understand the use cases we've defined, and then kind of maybe circle back here.
Okay, so maybe we should go to the examples at the bottom first, and then come back up here.
Yeah, and try, I guess, keep in your heads how rebase might work and what information you might need to reliably reproduce to rebase.
Cool.
All right, cool. So this is a example of an app build pack. Like I've gotten a lot of questions about, well, shouldn't it do this? Shouldn't it do that? Yes, this is not probably what we would ship. This is just to illustrate the capabilities. So this app build pack would have a build pack toml that defined an ID. Privileged equals true. I think we're still not certain we want to keep that, but that's kind of superficial. We define its stacks, and then it would provide any mixin using the asterisk notation. The bin detect would simply exit 0 because all of the mixins are provided statically, and there is no dynamic mixin mechanism, right, to provide. Does that sound right? I can't remember.
Yes, yeah,
yeah,
we got rid of.
Does it have build plan arguments?
In the positional arguments and the bin detect, you mean? Yes. And I think that'll become clear in the next example.
Cool.
Okay, and then the bin build would do some stuff that it always does, and then it would iterate over the entries provided in the build plan, if they're a mixin, and install that mixin as a package. And then it would, yeah, that's the correct name, stack layer to the first positional directory, the layers or output directory, and exclude var cache, which would ensure, because this same build script is going to run at build and extend. So at build time, it would exclude var cache. Exclude is kind of weird here because the purpose is really to cache it, not to exclude it, but the mechanism works, right? It's excluding it from not caching it, I guess.
We want to both exclude it.
You want to cache, you want like launch equals false, but build equals true, or whatever the equivalent is of that. Cache equals true kind of thing. Cache equals true, launch equals false.
Yeah, I think it means that the package database isn't, like package cache isn't going to be exposed in the final image, which is right. And it's not going to be exposed to subsequent build packs, which seems right enough. And it's going to get recovered. So the next time the stack pack runs, in both cases, they get the package cache back again. So it seems like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I don't know how intentional we are about not exposing the package database to subsequent build packs, but if I had to pick one, that's probably what I would pick to do.
Yeah.
I was about to say, so when you say build time, like subsequent build packs, I think we said, what are we going to do? Like dump these excludes after all stack packs?
Yeah.
So it would still exist for subsequent stack packs, but not for subsequent user space build packs. Is that right?
Good question.
Okay.
I think so, maybe. What if they overlap? Makes it easier to do it all at the end.
No,
maybe
so
I'm
like
pretty
my-
sure I'm pretty sure we did not say at the end of each build pack. During the build phase, after the stack packs have run, but before the user space build packs have run, the life
so
cycle
we did
will
say
forcibly
after all.
delete everything.
Okay. After all stack packs, but before user space. Okay.
When does the caching of those things happen?
Export.
If we,
Oh, well,
Well,
yeah, I guess I'm not
if we
sure what you
delete
mean
them,
by.
Yeah.
for the build phase one, when does the caching of those to recover it for the next?
I mean, it has happened before the user build, right?
Yeah, it has to happen before you delete the thing. So okay.
Yeah, that seems fine. Like it's going to create the tarball or whatever at that point.
Would you expect one cache tarball per stack pack or one, like, because if they mix and match,
Yeah.
if you don't clear them or do it right after each build pack, you're going to end up with different results.
Yeah, this might be where, we talked about not needing Kaneko snapshotting, but if we're talking about a tarball per build pack or per stack pack, you'd like, let's say they both touch var cache, you'd want to have the diff, or you just have one tarball per excludes path, I should say.
I don't think you need kind of. Oh, okay, because you might be a diff between. Do it all at the
Stack pack A
end.
and stack pack B. Yeah. Or we do it all at the end and
And try to assign, something like that. Close enough.
Yeah,
there's an answer in there somewhere.
I feel like we're kind of getting into implementation details there. Like it doesn't really impact the behavior at all. We know what we want here. It's just a question of how we get it.
I think for me, the thing is we can't use Kaneko because we can't, when a new base image comes up, we can't apply a diff to something on the old base image. So as long as we're okay saying we cut out those paths, hard cut using GGCR and not diff cut using Kaneko. And we figure out the implementation later and exactly where we pull it apart, I think we're good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like excludes is just still a weird word for the build phase, but I don't know, maybe we're just bike shitting.
Excludes it from the build.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and then finally, this is based on the very, very tentative proposal in the app mixins RFC, this is how a project TOML, this is how someone would like use this build pack, right? Like they would, from their application in their project TOML, define the mixins that they want, and then the platform would take the mixins from the project TOML, and this is again, this is TBD on the app mixins RFC, but it would inject those required mixins into the build such that they'd ultimately appear in this list here, even if they weren't required anywhere else.
Unless they were already in the stack. It's a way for the app to
right.
say,
It will resolve them, yeah. So
It's a way
yeah,
f-
if yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, if your stack includes libpq, that stack pack will not run.
So more generically, from a user's perspective, it's a way of saying my app requires this, and then doesn't matter. The user doesn't have to think about there's app build pack or their stacks or whatever. It's like if that can be delivered, it will be delivered. Otherwise, the build will fail and say this thing needs to get here one way or another, right? And I think that's a really clean interface for the end user.
Yep. Okay. All right, so now this is the CA certificate stack pack example, which this example, again, may not be the way we would actually do CA certs. It just illustrates an example of a build plan dependency that isn't a mixin. And this example has two build packs, one that's a stack pack and one that's a user space build pack. So in the way that, same way as the project TOML kind of triggered the behavior in the stack pack here, in this example, it's going to be triggered by a user space build pack. So the stack pack is first, it's build pack TOML, has privileged and that stuff. Nothing special here. It doesn't provide any mixins. Its detect will provide CA cert. So based on the rules that we described above. Oh, and it has the like positional argument too as build plan. Same as for user space build packs. And then based on the rules that are described up above for how the build plan dependencies are resolved, this build pack would run or not. And I think in this case, it's just whether another build pack requires this CA cert dependency. And we'll take a look at that in a second. So then the bin build for this stack pack would filter the build plan for entries named CA cert that are not mixins. And then I think, yeah, we'd use the metadata for that. This is just an example. The metadata for that entry to get a path to a file that it installs as a CA cert. That's what's going on there. So now down here is the user space build pack that would trigger this stack pack to run. The build pack TOML is normal, nothing special here. The bin detect would require CA cert with that metadata that I just talked about. Yeah, I don't know, in this example, I have a file and then I actually put the contents of the cert in the build plan. Again, just one possible way to implement this. I'm not sure if that's really a good idea or not. And I've got two of them here, a database and a server. I'm not sure why. I think that's just to show that you can do more than one. And then the bin build for this user space build pack would do nothing because it's really just here to provide that potentially dynamically, right? Because yeah, no, this is the build pack. I think it could provide the cert from the app as well, like if it was in, you know, like the workspace / cert or certs or something like that. So yeah, the user space build pack doesn't do anything. So when these two, good.
Sorry, you could even have a build plan build pack that the app developer could use to specify CA certs without needing a special user space CA build pack to communicate to the thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's interesting.
We have a build plan build pack now as a concept.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, totally. Whatever mechanism it needs. Basically, I think that's what's trying to be shown. What I'm trying to show here is that whatever that mechanism is, it's just working through the build plan as normal. Yeah, so when the CA cert is required, it ends up here. So that's kind of an important example. I think it answers a bunch of the questions that we had and then speaks to that section that we put a pin in. So any questions about that before we move on to the next example?
I think for folks who maybe who weren't in the meeting before, like this is an important one because the build plan does have to be persisted as a label if it's to be extended, like on the run image. Like for a build image, this would be, not a big deal, but that does mean that the build plan here, with in this case the server certs, would need to be on a label somewhere, so that when rebase occurs, you have that same information to install the certs again.
So the cert actually couldn't be in the app directory because the stack pack doesn't have access to the app directory during build.
Right, which is why it's pulling it from the build factor here, right? I think.
No, it's putting it in this case, it's putting it in the metadata.
Right, but it's coming from the build factor, not from the apter. And that's important to
But this is a user space build pack.
Yeah.
But earlier we were like, well, could the user push CA certs with the app and have those CA certs get integrated into the build plan build pack using this model? Oh, because that cat there is intended to mean this happens in user space beforehand. Yep. And so it's just the metadata that makes it over. It's not the path that gets sent over. Okay, never mind. Got it.
Yeah, there must have been a reason I have the file name here. I don't know. This looks like I thought about it at some point.
Yeah, I think because you have to, you have to have the file. I think.
Yeah.
Got it. I misread. Cool. So the CA cert gets imprinted into the metadata so that it can be recovered during rebase.
Which is then a label on your image for rebase, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to another example. I think Jason Collins had asked me to add this one. It's a little bit different than the others. This is, this is showing that something like JQ could be provided as a mixin or as a regular dependency in the build plan. And that's really all that's being illustrated here.
I think that syntax is invalid on the mixin now. Isn't that an array now? Mixins equals.
I thought we went to single.
Or did we go single again?
Mixin again.
Okay.
An alternative to name. That's what I thought we were at.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this down here is right. So.
All right.
It's either name or mixin, right? And we don't want mixins to be anything other than a list of strings, but we're okay with, and we don't want mixin to be anything other than a single mixin name. But as long as we can have both of those together, right?
Agree. Okay, so that's the examples. Any questions? Cool. All right, so I tried to capture some future work that I know that's not required for this RFC, but I know we'll want to do. For example, I'm fairly certain there will be stack packs that need to branch based on whether they're running an extend or build. Like the apt example is just doing the same thing, but there's definitely things that might only want to do stuff during build or something like that. And so I expect that we're going to want to introduce a CMV stack type nvar that just is provided by the platform, tells it what phase it's running in. We can debate the intricacies of that, but just some mechanism like that. Support for creator. I think what we're proposing is in the first phase, and this might even be called out explicitly, it would not be, stack packs would not be supported for creator because the extend phase can't run in the same container. You have to have a separate environment for that. I think we have an idea of how that might actually be implemented in creator, where you do the Canico thing of like loading the file system, What is that, Stephen?
It'd be really interesting. You have to clear the whole thing and then run another thing and then recover the previous thing and then play on top of it. That can make sense.
Ain't pretty, but I think it would work.
Yeah. We could just make the creator. What I was thinking about for this is instead of it being the creator for stack packs is an optimization where you go from 8 containers to 2 containers if you have a run image extension, right? That wouldn't be too bad. It would still make the pack CLI faster.
Yeah.
The creator, a big part of creator is a performance optimization, and being able to run the other container in parallel, right, is more performant. And so it was running a whole bunch of new containers sequentially in the Docker daemon that was slow. So maybe just even as a first pass, we could just say, the normal extend phase has to happen the way it would in the multi thing.
Yeah, it gets a little more complicated because I know we talked about it before that analyze probably needs to start becoming before detect. So it might be, instead of 2 containers, one for build and one for extend, it's really like 3 containers. So you do like or 4 maybe, like analyze plus detect and then branch out.
Analyze can't come before detect because you don't know what to analyze, right?
Well, we have to analyze the run image to get the mix-ins, or at least that's what we're talking about. Is like we do need to get the like run mix-ins from your desired sort of run image.
Different conversation.
Yeah.
All good things. All good things in the future. Yeah, and then the last one was, I'm not sure if this is a certainty, but snapshot to cache the build phase so that, Buildpack could say it's maybe idempotent or whatever, however we want to configure that. And all the changes it makes, sans some excluded directories, would be snapshotted, and you wouldn't need any kind of snapshot layers configuration file to capture those. It would just sort of capture everything. And that would allow you to like, skip reinstalling packages, for example.
When you say the build phase, you mean build and extend phases, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 2 separate caches. So yeah.
And currently during the extend phase, even though we're snapshotting it, we're not caching it because we got rid of the idempotency concept.
Yep. Okay, so drawbacks of this proposal. I think the main one, I think that this is kind of naive or optimistic to have just one drawback here, but the main one is that the end user cannot provide stack packs. They have to be provided by the stack. The stack creators, the stack providers. Some alternatives. These are basically like the old proposals that we've talked about. Nothing really special there. This might not be relevant if we're getting rid of non-idempotent, but I think I just left it in there because I didn't want to lose it.
Cool.
Yeah, this might be an important one. I know Emily's asked about this.
We have a build plan, right? I mean, should we just include the runtime stack, the extend phase stuff in the build materials, and then put the other stuff in the report section? Put the build time, build of materials, build phase, stack pack, mix, and build of materials in the report section, something like that. Or is there like a problem here we've run into?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's probably, are there really like 2 bill of materials now? Is that kind of the problem? We kind of sort of have to merge what happened during build and also extend later on.
I don't know if you have to merge them because I think you would only want, for reproducibility, you would only want the extensions to the run image to end up in the bill of materials on the final image. And then report toml is how we're talking about information about what happened during the build phase. Yeah. I don't even know if we need to, like, it's a very high level description of that. I don't want to get into the weeds on. I think they're already in the weeds too much on getting the model down in this RFC.
Yeah, report toml isn't persisted though, right? It's only there during the build process. So I think we want something persisted in labels.
No, we
we're talking about.
So for the changes to the runtime image, we want to persist those in labels in the final image. But for the build time stuff, that we don't want it to affect reproducibility, because if you have a different set of build time packages, it doesn't really matter if they don't end up in the image. So report toml is ephemeral, but the platform can capture that information and store it separately from the image, and that's kind of the point. So like the extend stack pack build plan entries and mix-ins go into the bill of materials. The strictly build stack pack build plan entries and mix-ins go into the report I think. Does that make sense?
But don't you need that information for traceability purposes? Or
But not
I
in
get
the
that
bill of
they're-
materials, I think, right? I think Steven's saying you probably do want it, but you probably want it in report TOML, and that's up to the platform to persist.
I see what you're saying.
It's like in the bill of materials, or build packs shouldn't be including things in the bill of materials that don't end up in the image, right? They should use didn't we refactor the whole bill of materials thing recently? I forget what's changed. But
Yeah, I know
there's
Natalie had some insight in that, but she's not here.
like
You don't-
two
you-
paths, right? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying you don't need to know that JQ is installed to like perform your work during the build, right? Unless JQ ends up on the run image. It's kind of the way I think about it.
But you can report it. It just doesn't end
Yeah,
up.
you
in
can
the
report it, but it doesn't
image.
need to be a label in your run image. Yeah.
There are two kinds of bill of materials entries now, right? It's not rewriting the same file. It's like there are two places you can put bill of materials entries, and one is for the bill of materials or build plan entries at the end of the build pack phase, and one is for bill of materials, and the other is for report TOML. And so you just direct all the build plan entries that happen during the build phase to report TOML, and direct all the ones that happen during extend phase into the build materials in the end.
Yeah, I have a lot more questions, but I feel like it's just my my lack of understanding of how or what we mean there. But I could probably do some research on my own.
I think the RFC on the build plan refactoring from a while back, if you look at that, it should kind of make this make sense. Cool.
All right, yeah, we're over time. There's a couple of good questions here if you want to take a look offline. But yeah, we're getting pretty close. So.
Awesome. I think this is like nearly ready to ship. There are no more real big questions, right? Like,
Yeah, I had misremembered where we finished at, so actually feeling pretty good now.
awesome.
So do we have some minor changes and looking for votes? Is that where we're at, Joe?
Yeah, I think I'll get to that today. Maybe we can do tomorrow. I'll try to make these changes before the working group tomorrow, and then we'll discuss.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.